Hello, and today's guest is a Miami entrepreneur, attorney, and community leader who has built his law firm by investing in both clients and people. Eric Gros-Dubois has founded EPGD Law in 2013 and was a firm of one. Today, it has grown into a team of approximately 60 professionals serving business owners, entrepreneurs, families, and its investors. With a JD and an MBA in finance, Eric understands that legal challenges are rarely just legal. As Eric puts it, people aren't just hiring us to solve legal problems, they're hiring us to solve personal problems. Eric is also deeply involved in our Miami community and is committed to developing the next generation of lawyers through EPGD's internship and summer associate program. Today, we're talking about building a firm, creating opportunities for young professionals, embracing innovation, and giving back to the Miami community. Welcome, Eric.
Thank you. I'm so excited to be here.
Yes, of course. We are so excited to have you here too. Can you tell me a little bit more about this specific quote that we have in your intro here that says, people aren't just hiring us to solve legal problems, they're hiring us to solve personal problems.
Sure. And I think this is something I truly believe it to my core. Now, there are certainly certain times where you might need a lawyer specifically because it's a legal thing, whatever that thing is. But I actually think that that's very rare. And most of the time, we're satisfying our basic needs, right? Fear, pain, wants, and desires. And so when people, to satisfy those needs, a lot of times they'll go to a lawyer. So I'll give an example. A business owner, what do they really want to do? They really want to build a profitable business that'll give them meaning in their life and also provide for their families. So a lot of times when they look at the certain problem that they're going through, they don't look at it in the frame of reference of, oh, I need a lawyer because I just need a lawyer. They're looking at it of, how can I resolve this problem to get back to making more money, or how can I resolve this problem to get back to spending more time with my family? And so I think that that's the role that we can serve.
Oh my gosh, absolutely. Well, thank you so much for sharing that. That quote was it stood out so much for me when I was reading that, because yes, we're here for business, but bringing that personable aspect is very impactful, not only for the entrepreneur, but as a community as a whole. Take us back to 2013. Why did you start your firm?
I can say there were a couple different factors. One of them is I had a great mentor, a very good friend who I think you know, Brian Barakat. And Brian had already started his firm. He was at the corner of Ponce and Almeria in Coral Gables, and he had a couple empty offices. He had a co-tenant named Alex Sorolnik, who had actually grown so much that he moved out of Brian's office. And so I guess I was complaining. I was telling Brian how frustrated I was at the job, that the firm I was working at. And Brian's like, well, I have this empty office. Now, on the one hand, I think he was doing it because he truly cared about me and my success and my happiness. On the other hand, I think he was just looking for a subtenant because he liked to collect rent. And so he had an empty office, and he encouraged me to start my firm. Again, I jokingly say so that he could collect my rent every month. And then I knew another guy who, his wife was friends with my girlfriend at the time, and he had just started his own firm right out of law school, which, by the way, I think is absolutely insanity, right? Because I was a 6-year lawyer, and I knew the nuts and bolts of how to be a lawyer, but how did that guy even know what a law firm is supposed to do if you've never worked in one? But despite that, he was kind of successful. He had clients, he had employees, he had a team, he was going to court, he was winning cases. And so my girlfriend, again, was friends with his wife. She says to me, and she had a thick French accent. She was from Paris. She said, well, if he can do it, why not you? And I said, well, okay, maybe I should start my firm. What do you think I should call it? And she said, I don't know, EPGD. And that's how that's how it got its name.
Yeah, I remember asking, what's this acronym?
Yeah. We joke now that it's Eric Papo Gomez Dom, which I guess is my partner Oscar, my partner Papo, and then Dom's our firm administrator.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, you've grown from being a solo and now you have a team of about 60. And I say about 60 because it gets to a point that you're not sure how many people are in your firm.
So about 15 of our people are what you consider interns. Now we have a defined role that's intern, which is typically kids that are in college or taking a gap year, which I strongly encourage all people thinking about going to law school. A gap year, essentially, you graduate from undergrad and then you maybe go work for a law firm for a year to see if it's something you really want to do. So we have 3 that are in college and then 2 that are giving us gap years. And then we have 10 law clerks, which are technically students in law school. So those 15, I consider them very much part of the team. The interns are very much part of the day-to-day. Like I really think we couldn't do our job without them. But going back to the very beginning, I always knew that I didn't want to be alone. And I say it like that because my best friend, Patrick Grosinger, he's in Orlando and he is alone. He doesn't have a Stephanie. He doesn't have anybody. Like when the phone rings, he's the only person to answer it. When he runs out of printer ink, he's got to go to the Office Depot and buy more. And so, and it's a decision. Like Patrick decided, I want to be alone. Well, I knew that I didn't. So less than 2 months after I started, I hired my first employee. And I remember people thought I was crazy. And I said, I think it's crazy not to build a team. And again, a lot of, and I say this to a lot of law firm owners, maybe they've just gone out on their own and they're very nervous about hiring, right? And so here was my math. I was at the time I was paying $10 an hour for a law clerk. This is back in 2013. And I was hiring her for 10 hours a week. It was $100 a week. If I can't afford $100 a week, then why am I even in business?
Right.
And more to the point, I think back then I was charging my clients $200 an hour for the law clerk. So I was paying them 10, I was collecting 200, and hopefully the math would add up to a profitable position. So my first hire was a law clerk. My second hire was a part-time administrative assistant, where I had this vision in my mind of a young mom, right? Like maybe a mom who just had a kid and she wants to get out of the house and maybe work a few hours a day while the kid's in daycare or in school. And that's exactly who I found. And in fact, it worked perfectly because at first, her name was Susie. At first, Susie was 10 hours a week. And then one day, Susie was like, hey, Eric, I'm ready to work 20 hours a week. And I was like, okay, I'm ready to pay you for 20 hours a week. And then eventually that became 30 hours a week. Yeah. And then that became a full-time job. And then my third hire was a burned out big law litigator who was actually a CrossFit instructor.
Oh, wow.
Who wanted to give me 10 hours a week. So the way I looked at it was I wasn't hiring a full-time position. I was hiring a part-time position. So if you look in terms of percentages, if I'm 1, then to go from 1 plus somebody else 10 hours, that's 1.25, right? Whereas now we're at 30 lawyers. To go from 30 lawyers to 31 lawyers, I won't even feel that in the payroll. Like someone do the math. I think that's a 4% difference. No one can really feel 4%, but you can probably feel 100% or 20%.
20%, 40%. Yeah. So how did you start? Like what's the difference between that 0.2 to 60 now? Like what made you, how did you get to that? I call it the snowball effect.
So it's a great question. I think that I always put an emphasis on marketing. And marketing is what allows you to generate brand awareness and then to get leads. And then from the leads, then you have a sales process. And then from the sales process, you have clients and then you have work to do, right? And so I focused on the first part, which was marketing, which I always just thought was the most important thing. And I'll tell you, about 2.5 years after I opened the firm, I knew I had something going because I got referred the same client 3 times.
Oh, gosh.
Which means they kept shopping around.
Great.
And they finally admitted to me. They're like, yeah, well, we got referred to you. We did a consultation. Then we went and asked some other people, and they also referred to you. And then we asked some other people, and they referred to you. And I was like, that's how I know my brand is out there.
And did you start collecting reviews after that?
I did.
Good.
I did. And so, eventually we got to the point where we built a whole marketing department, which is now 3 people. It's run by Karen. And then Karen has Sebastian in Colombia, who does all of our digital editing. And then Sarai, who's actually in Santiago, Chile, she handles our strategy.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
Wonderful.
So, but back to the point. So I wasn't afraid of hiring. And then and building the team, right? It's all about making sure you hire the right people, making sure that you fire the right people, making sure that, and I think it was a commitment to not growth for growth's sake, but a commitment to serving as many clients as we can.
Right.
If it was just me, and I know the math, if it's a solo practitioner who is working full steam, they can probably only do about $750,000 a year in revenue. I think that's about the magic number where you're going to burn out. You can't physically do more with hours than that. And so the only way, and by the way, I know those people, they go on vacation, guess what happens? They stop making money.
Yeah.
And so I will tell you that EPGD with 60 and a couple wonderful partners and a firm administrator that keeps the trains running on time, I can go on vacation and confidently know that we're going to keep making money and we're going to be able to keep servicing clients and we're going to be able to keep paying our bills on time. You know, we have a whole billing department now where their whole job is basically on autopilot.
Yeah. And if you had to start all over again, I mean, first of all, I think your math is mathing right, but looking back at your experience today, what would you do in the first couple of years if you had to start over now?
So I would probably implement a CRM from day one. So crazy thing. I didn't start keeping track of my leads and therefore keeping track of my referral sources and my referral partners and the organizations until January 1st, 2019. That means I have no data, none, from 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, or 18. I have no data. I have a hunch. I think I remember somebody who might have referred me so-and-so back in 2014. But I started concretely recording, like diligently recording. And now it's a master spreadsheet where I have all of 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, and now halfway through 26. And so I can go through there and really easily tell you, oh, Deirdre Nero, she's referred me 47 clients over the last 5 years. I have that data, right? So if I could give advice if I had a time machine and I could go back in time, I would say, Eric, collect that data from when did I start? June 3rd, 2013. Like I should have been diligently recording that information because from there you get everything. You get who you're going to send your birthday presents to, who you're going to send Christmas cards to, who you're going to pay referral fees to, you know, who are the referral partners
referrals are so important, and usually within law firms, referrals generate about 80% of the revenue.
I believe that's right.
And Deidre, she's a fantastic immigration attorney, and just hearing that and just building that relationship with different attorneys is what's going to move things around, because attorneys know attorneys and they know clients that need your services.
That's right.
Everything's very lateral.
A lot. I'd say the majority of our business comes from other lawyers, even ones that conflict with us, because sometimes there's a conflict and there's a reason why they can't take the client. A great example, a very dear friend of mine, Eduardo Ayala, he has his own firm, and I think he looks up to us. And quite frankly, I see him as a peer. And so we, at any given time, we are co-counsel, opposing counsel, referral partner, expert witness, right? There's, as he puts it, we're direct competitors and we collaborate every day.
Absolutely. I mean, speak about looking up to you. I did a competitor analysis report for one of your competitors, and it's very difficult to find a competitor that's doing a lot of things in marketing well. And I was like, I need to get in contact with whoever is in charge of EPGD. And I went on a hunt to like have conversations with different attorneys, with different marketers. And I got in touch with Ellen, and she told me she did a presentation in your office. And then I got in touch with Christina, and she's like, I just had lunch or dinner with Eric. Let me introduce you. I'm like, yes, please. I really wanted to pick your brain. And that's how we eventually met.
Right.
So whatever you're doing in marketing is going well, thanks to not only your leadership, but also the leadership within your team as well.
So when I asked Brian Bearcat back in 2013, I literally asked the question, how am I going to get clients? And he said, well, you're going to join the Coral Gables Chamber of Commerce.
Yeah.
You're going to join this thing called BNI.
Yeah.
And you're going to pick a third group, which I picked the Rotary Club. So I was living in Brickell, so I did the Brickell Rotary Club. And it's word of mouth, right? It's making connections. It's learning the nuts and bolts of networking, which, by the way, networking is just like any other human activity. It can be learned. It can be taught. It can be improved upon.
Yeah.
You can get rusty.
Yeah.
There was a time, I think we all got a little rusty in COVID. Right.
Oh
so
my gosh.
2020, we all like stopped networking. And then 2021, we had to like get back into it.
Yeah.
And so I followed his advice. And then I think you have to be committed to also delivering excellent service, right?
100%.
Because what is easier than repeat business, right? If you do a good job, like obviously you're out there, you're networking, you're hustling. And I actually came up with a math formula. So I needed to do 10 one-to-ones to get 3 leads to close 1 new client. 10, 3, 1.
Yeah.
And so I was doing 30 hours a week of one-to-ones, which would lead to 9 consultations, which would lead to 3 new clients. So if I do 3 new clients a week, then that's, do the math, 150 new clients a year. And then if you obviously do a good job, hopefully you get repeat business and then they refer their friends. And then if you stay committed to that, and then at the same time, you need to be building the team to make sure that you're doing a good job of servicing those clients. And so, like I said, my very first hire was a legal intern, a law clerk, Anna Lucia. She was amazing. She went to St. Thomas School of Law. And this summer, like I said, we have 10, and I think 7 of you guys go to UM, 6, and 2 from FSU, and 1 from Nova, and 1 from St. Thomas. There you go. Yeah. I mean, listen, that is also a really nice thing that we're blessed that Miami has 4 law schools.
Yeah.
My friends in Orlando, I don't know if they have any law schools in
1.
Orlando. I think they might have 1.
Yeah.
Right. So it's very different. Like here, EPGD's summer program, we accept applications starting in February. We make all of our decisions by March. And we had over 500 applications for 10 seats.
Look at that.
3 of which were already committed. So really for 7 seats.
Yeah. So today's conversation, I really wanted to lean in to your interns and your internship program.
Sure.
Because I work with so many law firms and nobody except one other one has an internship program. And everything that's happening with AI now, AI really taking over these entry-level positions because AI can do a lot of these things on the back end.
Sure.
How do you think AI has impacted not only gaining team members, but also these entry-level positions that these law firms are essentially looking for that could fill in?
I'll start by saying we're not afraid of AI. And I just see it as another tool. I don't think it's going to replace people. I think it's going to make people more effective.
Absolutely.
And I will also say that there will always be a need for oral argument. Until they end oral argument, there will be a need for litigators. Until people stop fighting over money, right? As soon as we can solve that problem,
Which is never,
then we're always going to need litigators, which means I think we need to continue to invest in finding talent. Now, let me say this. On the one hand, law clerks are cheap labor. Let's call it kind of like it is. On the other hand, it's an incubator for future awesome junior attorneys. And so every year we hire 2 to 3 out of that class, out of that pool, who then will take the bar and come back in the fall as the next generation of lawyers. And a couple of my all-stars, and there's no other way to put it, a couple of my all-star junior attorneys came through our law clerk program. And I'll pick on Renata, Bella, Caroline, my partner Aviv, Jose, like all these people, and those are just top of the list. And there's more to come. We've already made offers to a couple of them now. So back to the original question. I don't believe that AI is going to replace good lawyers. I think it's going to make the lawyers have to up their game. And if you consider AI the competition, then what can we do better than AI? And I know the answer. The answer is human touch, emotional intelligence,
right,
customer service, right? And by the way, don't believe everything you read on the internet. I have asked the AI questions and it has given me the wrong answer.
Absolutely.
And
That's what you
I was
teach.
like, whoa, okay. So, we get these clients who think that they know best, but guess what? I'm still going to go to the doctor. I'm not going to stop going to the doctor because I can ask AI what my medical symptoms are. I want to go to the doctor that probably has the best bedside manner.
Absolutely.
So we're teaching that. And also I'm teaching them how to network. So
I know.
part of my program is I make them all go to my BNI with me, which by the way.
And the Chamber of Commerce.
I make them go to the Chamber of Commerce. The Chamber of Commerce, I don't know when this is going to be released, but August 2026, and at the end of every summer, they have a Take Your Intern to Lunch Day.
Oh, look at that.
Yeah, I think it's coming
Is it
up.
just one intern or you can take all 15?
We're getting a table.
Okay.
Yeah. I think we're doing 10.
Okay.
We're doing 10.
Okay. What are the pros and cons of having interns?
Turnover is a con.
Okay.
So I'll pick on the interns for a second. Let's say you have an amazing gap year kid, like they're amazing, and they figure out, and then we're having them do administrative work so that they figure out all the back ends, all of the nuts and bolts of how we're running the firm, and they do amazing. And then they leave and go to law school, and you have to start over and train somebody else.
Mm-hmm.
So turnover is unfortunately a negative. Also, I have to recognize I'm training the competition because I'm not going to be able to hire all 10 of them.
Right.
So they're going to end up working for other firms, and they're going to take the knowledge and the skills and the things that I give them. Obviously I wish them the best and I want them to take over the world. And in fact, if they do take over the world and it says on their resume that
they started with you,
that they started with me, there's nothing that makes me prouder. But we've had it where, we've extended an offer and them like, no, we're going to try and look somewhere else. And I'm like, darn it. I just spent an entire summer mentoring this person and giving them all of our wisdom and teaching them the nuts and bolts, and they're going to go take it to another firm.
Oh, goodness.
Yeah.
So
I get emotional because
you get attached.
I get attached. Yeah.
So what are the pros?
Oh, working with really talented and enthusiastic people. I love their eagerness to learn. And then the top pro is it's a summer-long interview if you really want to think about it. So by the end of the summer, we know them. They've been with us for 3 months every day, day in and day out. I know their character. I know their work ethic. I know their sense of humor. And so if we're really lucky, I can get the cream of the crop, the 2 or the 3 best, and keep them, right? And then what we do for our junior attorneys that come through our program is we offer them a signing bonus that's conditional on them staying for 3 years, because I want to make sure that I get at least those first 3 years, because that's where all the investment I made in them gets paid back to me by them being an above average junior attorney.
Right, right. So this is really giving back to the community, giving back to Miami-Dade County, giving back to the student, and of course, helping your firm grow.
And I would say it's also great marketing.
It is absolutely
so
great.
So we got
marketing.
these 500 applications, right? That means people knew about us. And then we got the 10 that are in the house, and then they're talking to their friends. And then, unfortunately, they're not all going to stay with us, but we can always still be friends. And so years down the road, and that's another thing. Miami is a very word of mouth, and it's a very insular type of town. And I know that we're going to cross paths. That's the other thing. Like if you start breaking it down. So there's a lot of lawyers for sure, but there's not that many lawyers that do what we do, servicing the market that we service.
Right.
There's maybe 10 firms.
Absolutely.
And we all know each other.
Oh, trust me, I know. I've done the competitor analysis.
And the way we know each other is because they're the ones that are constantly on the other side.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. So giving back to the community, because I talk to so many lawyers, if you can give them a message about how to start with internships, with interns, and building that relationship with these universities and schools, what would be like your top 3 tips for them?
Well, you have to remember a couple things. First is that it is a long-term investment, right? So you have to be patient, and it's not one of those things where you're immediately going to get results. And so I could understand why people might get frustrated, and maybe, I worked at a firm once upon a time where I looked around and I'm like, where's all the young people? And they're like, oh, they're a waste of time. We don't believe in internships. We don't believe in law clerks. And so it is a long-term investment. That is number one. Number 2 is you cannot have a zero-sum mentality. You have to understand, it's almost like, I hate to take it from BNI, but givers gain. The more you give, then it might take a long time, but eventually you will receive. And you will get back.
Yeah.
And so everything I'm saying, I firmly believe, and I think it's ingrained in our culture. And my partners who, hopefully believe the same thing I do. And I really think that they do. I think that that's why they decided to work with me in the first place, was because we like and also it brings youth and enthusiasm. So just not having a zero-sum mentality mindset and understanding that it's a long-term investment. And staying positive and optimistic.
Yeah. How did you start with interns? Like, were you like, oh, we need interns. Oh, maybe we should just have one. We should have two, or we should start with 5.
So my first job, I was working for a guy named Jeff Katz in Washington, D.C. Small to medium-sized firm. I think at its peak, like 6 or 7 lawyers. And he went, it's actually really funny. He went to an embassy party, which is a thing you can do in DC. The embassies have parties.
Yeah.
So he goes to an embassy party at the Italian embassy and meets some Italian law students that were like at the University of Rome, and they were spending the summer in DC. And I'm pretty sure they all worked illegally in violation of their tourist visas, because I'm pretty sure they came on the 90-day ESTA tourist visa from Europe, and they all got jobs at Jeff's. And so I know the way Jeff's mind was looking at it. Jeff was like, oh, cheap labor. So that opened my eyes up to the possibility. Then a different thing happened. So up to that point, we had only had law students. Randomly, a financial advisor who actually did the life insurance for my buy-sell, he calls me up and he says, hey, one of my clients has a son. He's a really smart kid. He's looking to work part-time in a law firm. And he's still in undergrad, or maybe he was doing his postgraduate work. He was getting some sort of master's. His name was Jose. And he was our first, and we were kind of like, it was like an experiment. We're like, all right, well, because here's the other thing. Law school rewires your brain. So you could be the smartest person in the world, but unless you've done the first 6 months of law school, you can't do legal work.
Yeah.
You haven't learned how to research yet. You haven't learned how to write like a lawyer. And they teach you all that in the first 6 months. And so he was a super, super smart kid who just couldn't do legal work. Next thing I know, he's running my entire back office.
Oh, wow.
And by the way, his peers gave him the nickname, The Machine.
Oh.
And so Jose was intern number 1. And then and by the way, this is when the system works. Jose was intern number 1 for 2 years, then went to law school, was law clerk number 1 for 3 years, and now he's a second-year junior attorney at our firm. So technically, Jose has been with us for almost 8 years.
Wow, look at that.
Yeah.
Talk about a success story.
Yeah, and trust me, that is one where I get more than I give on that one. He is a wonderful part of the team.
Wow. Well, thank you so much for those tips. We're going to wrap up with some rapid fire.
Uh-oh.
All right. So whatever comes to mind first. Coffee or tea?
Coffee.
Boating or hiking?
Boating.
Chess or tennis?
Tennis.
Favorite Miami restaurant? Local. Mom and pops.
Casablanca on the river.
Love it. One quality every great intern needs?
Perseverance.
If you were not an attorney, what would you be doing?
History professor.
History professor. Very interesting. Very, very interesting.
Probably really like niche. I'd be medieval French history.
Huh. Awesome. What does your perfect Miami weekend look like?
Sailing on Biscayne Bay on my best friend Jim Green's boat, Bali High.
Love it. And describe EPGD's law in 3 words.
Hunger, talent, enthusiasm.
Beautiful. And let's conclude. Tell us again what your firm does exactly.
So we're business lawyers. Means that we work with business owners and entrepreneurs, and we can do everything from helping them get started to helping them grow and hire employees and build their team, helping them negotiate real estate with their landlord, eventually registering their trademarks, and then if they need a litigator, we can represent them in court.
Very good. And where can they follow you on social media?
I don't know. Instagram, LinkedIn.
What's the handle?
EPGD Business Law.
EPGD Business Law.
Wonderful. And how can they contact the firm?
So I live a zero email inbox philosophy. So if anyone wants to email me, it's really easy. It's eric@epgdlaw.com. Or the website is easy to find. And there's, the little contact us thing, which I think I get those emails too.
Yeah. You were very easy to have a conversation with, especially in the very beginning when I was introduced to you. So I thank you for your candor, for always being open, for inviting me to your office, and for being here today, of course.
I believe that we are in a people business, and
Absolutely.
I have to live that. So I will tell you, I take every interview, I take every meeting. I'm not shy. If anyone wants to get coffee, I'll get coffee.
Which is very true. I can definitely vouch for that. All right. Ready to interview interns?
Yeah, let's do it.
Let's do it. We're back today with EPGD Law with Eric Gros-Dubois. We're also here with his interns. We have Alex and Yasmin. So very lovely to see you. Thank you so much for coming back.
Excited to be here.
Yes. And we're going to be talking about your internship program. You have a wonderful program, and it really drew me to you to have a great conversation and just want to grow that conversation with not only your experience, but the experience with Alex and Yasmin. So Alex and Yasmin, you guys are with University of Miami?
Correct.
Yes.
Wonderful.
Small correction. I don't call them interns, even though that might technically
Okay.
be what some other law firms might call it. I consider them law clerks.
Yes.
Another name for it is summer associate.
Summer associate. Yes, you do call them summer
So
associates.
summer associate is an actual 3-month program that's full-time, and it goes from mid-May to the end of July.
Wonderful.
Mhm.
And do you originally partnered up with So tell me that process of how you've partnered up with and other universities here in Miami-Dade County.
Sure. So I think we have representatives from St. Thomas, Nova. I don't believe we have anybody from FIU, and I gave them a piece of my mind because they didn't give us applications until April, and we had already closed our hiring for the summer. So did a really good job. They got us applications by February.
Wow. They're on it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And they did a wonderful job. They were top of the pack. And also I will say St. Thomas had their act together too.
Oh, wonderful.
Shout out
Absolutely. Absolutely. So what is your experience with applying to do your summer internship program with EPGD Law? Alex?
I would say my story is a bit atypical.
Okay.
It wasn't the traditional searching for firms, so I found them on a website. The advocate for me really was Yasmin. Yasmin and I actually went to the same university, and we were in contact throughout the year prior to me applying to law schools. So she was an advocate from day one. Throughout her summer last year, she really told me about her experience with the firm. And from the moment I stepped foot on campus, I knew it was a place that I was going to apply to.
Oh,
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah.
fun fact.
What
So
are
Yasmin
the
is
odds?
the voice on campus.
The fun fact is that they're both Canadian.
Yep.
Oh, God.
Same undergrad in Canada.
But did you guys go to school before? Do you guys know each other from Canada?
Yeah, from Canada. So when I moved to Miami and started University of Miami, Alex reached out to me during my first year, and I gave him the whole rundown of my application process. And then I just actually had accepted a job at EPGD for my first year.
Oh.
And I was telling him about it, and I was like, I'm so excited. I'll tell you about it once I do my internship. And then he moved to Miami, and I was telling him all about EPGD, and I was like, you have to apply.
Yes.
It's just, what are the odds that out of the 500 applications that Alex was one of the chosen ones? And I didn't even tell any of you.
Really?
Yeah, I didn't tell him. I mean,
Wow.
yeah, the networking events, I brought him around, I introduced him, but it was all him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So from Canada to Miami, how
Yes.
did that happen? Like, what made you decide to come to
So it was actually a very random story for me too. I came to Miami once on vacation, and I was like, people seem so happy here. Like, everyone's just living like their best lives. And I knew I was always going to go into this profession. And the stereotype is lawyers are always stressed. They hate their lives. And I was like, wait a minute. The lawyers I've met in Miami seem like they're doing these great ambitious things and also enjoying their lives and are happy people. And that's kind of what inspired me. I was like, wait, let me look into this. Like, this could be the way to go.
Yeah. And what surprised you about being an intern at EPGD Law?
I think a big thing for me was how willing every single person was to mentor, to teach. And again, all the lawyers have their own caseloads. Everyone's super busy, but they're all very inviting. Eric always asks us to come into his client meetings and we just listen and take notes. And it's honestly more of a learning experience for us, just seeing how lawyers can interact with our clients. And I think that's been like one thing that very stood out to me from EPGD and made me want to stay there.
Yeah. What about you, Alex?
I was really surprised with how much they trust us. And that was something that I was really looking for a law firm, is someone that would give me the full experience and would trust me to not only do research, but file motions. And I wanted to be part of an environment that was committed to perpetual growth and mentorship. And I find that with the people at EPGD, it's not just someone who assigns you a task, but after you're done a project, they're willing to give you feedback. And it speaks volumes not only to the kind of attorney that they want you to be in the future, but the kind of person that they want to be as well.
Right, absolutely. And looking at the type of work that you've been exposed to, what are like your top works or projects that you really like doing?
Honestly, I love getting to draft motions, and the attorneys get a client and they're like, you're with the case from the beginning. You sit in on the initial consult, so you know what the client's problems are, or what Eric said. Eric always says this to us, and it's like, clients pay us and it's for us to take away their stress. And that really stood out to me. So you become very invested in the entire process. And then I've had multiple experiences of drafting the first draft of a complaint and just being able to be there for every step of the process, going through discovery. It just makes you more invested in the project and really want the best outcome for the client.
Yeah. Have you seen the project from beginning to end yet?
There's been a couple actually that I started last summer, and then I obviously helped, for example, draft the complaint, went away to school. I was in and out during the school year, would part-time work at EPGD during finals. I stopped working, and then I came back this summer and it's finally being wrapped up now. So that's very cool to see.
Yeah, what great flexibility that is to like do your summer internship program, do a little bit of work during the winter whenever you can, and then to come back the next year. That's really great.
Yeah, for sure.
Well, I mean, I'll say that Yasmin stood out from her group last summer. And so we saw in her somebody that we want to continue to nurture. And who was your assigned mentor last summer?
Renata.
Renata's another example. Renata was a 2-summer law clerk when she was at Law, and now she's a second going on third-year attorney.
Wow, look at that.
In our litigation department. So, and that's an important thing. Every employee, not just the law clerks, but every employee gets assigned a mentor. And the mentor is not necessarily supposed to be the person who's going to give them all their assignments. It's really supposed to be the person that's going to open their door and be willing to answer their questions, make themselves feel like, hey, like, I know that sometimes you guys get shy, right? And you're like, you don't want to be annoying and you don't want to ask too many questions. But then we give them this mentor as like a safe place. Like, no, you can go bother that person.
It's like an automatic friend.
Who's your mentor?
Tiffany A.
Tiff A.
Which is amazing.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
What about projects for you?
I was exposed to a lot more litigation this summer.
Oh, great.
And I actually love that experience. I came into this thinking that corporate transactional work was like 100% my route. And it's been a lot of litigation work. And I came to realize that that actually is something that I want to do in the future. So had I not had the opportunity to be given those assignments, I would have never made that realization. And I really love how dynamic the firm is in terms of business law, where you have that transactional work, you have litigation and a bunch of different practice areas, and you're really exposed to a lot of different work and you're rotated around a lot of different practice areas. And I think that's so important for us law students because we don't really know what we want at the beginning of the day. But after you're exposed to that experience, you come to narrow down what are things that you find appealing. And as you're kind of adjusting your curriculum in law school, you get to make those adaptations about the types of courses that you want to take and the kind of lawyer that you want to be in the future.
Right. What about, Eric, for you, from a business standpoint, how important is it having, like, it's basically hiring from within versus looking for an attorney, putting a job post out on Monster, Indeed, LinkedIn? How does that differ when you can hire, when you can mentor your associates, bring them on, versus hiring?
If it was up to me, every attorney at EPGD would have come through our law clerk program. And I will say this, to all the young attorneys that didn't clerk at EPGD, I'm really sorry. We're probably not going to hire you, because we've had such outstanding success from, call it like our farm system, right? So
Yeah.
our law clerk is our farm system. And then we can really get some amazing, talented attorneys to, my partner Aviv started off as a rising 2L at UM. So Aviv, we actually call it the Aviv plan, which Yasmin is following, which is getting them because in law school you have 2 full summers, and then your 3rd summer you go away and you take the bar. So you really have those 2 summers where, if we're lucky, we'll get to have someone like Yasmin for 2 full summers. Alex is a year behind, so Alex is what we call a rising 2L. So technically he would be available for next summer. Next summer, she's going to be taking the bar. Then, you alluded to it, but when we hire a lateral, that's what we call it when we hire somebody who's already a lawyer and they're working at another firm. We've come to the realization that we're probably not going to do junior laterals. So they need to have probably a minimum of 5 years experience. We want people who know their game. So we're not teaching them how to be a lawyer. But then the downside is I also don't get to create them. These guys, I get to create them. I get to make them into the lawyer I want. For the laterals, we have about a 50% success rate long-term on lateral hires. Whereas I think we have a 95% success rate with our law clerk hires.
Wow, that's a big difference.
It is.
Yeah. And Yasmin and Alex, how has this internship program shaped or changed the way that you look at the legal system here in the U.S., since you guys are coming from Canada? How has that shaped your view here in the U.S. and the opportunities it has for you?
Well, I can't speak to the difference of the Canadian legal system versus the American system, but I'll give you an answer that's kind of symbolic of characteristics here. And I think the greatest muscle that you would call it that I've strengthened at EPGD is the ability to remain calm under pressure. And I think that's an impeccable characteristic that every lawyer needs. And it's something that I've seen reflected in a bunch of the attorneys at the firm. And it's something that I really aspire to be in the future.
Lovely. What about you?
I'm going to take it a little different angle to it. I think one thing I've really learned about the legal profession is the important business aspect of it. And to be an effective lawyer, you have to be a good business person and know the business side of the legal world. And I think that's something that Eric is very great at mentoring. And that's what I aspire to learn too. Like going to all those networking events, just as important as developing my legal skills.
Yeah. Awesome. What are your top 3 takeaways from being an intern or being a junior associate under Eric and under his team?
I would say the first one that comes to mind is don't be afraid to ask questions. I think what gets rewarded at this firm is, being humble is a great virtue, and being able to be receptive to feedback and to make those adjustments going forward is something that the firm is incredibly good at, giving me feedback when I need to develop and grow. I see their commitment to perpetual growth as something that's really valuable at the firm. I would also say reputations, another thing that I've realized is so important in being a young lawyer, is your reputation really starts now. It started when you got into law school, and it's something that you have to commit to going forward. And those are the top 2 that come to mind. Yasmin, do you have 3?
Yeah, I would say seek out great mentors. Find someone who's a little ahead of you on whatever, like 2 years, 3 years older than you, who's done what you've done, and try to get them to mentor you. Second would be to go the extra step. Don't just do the basics that's required of you. Always think ahead of how to make everyone's life around you easier. And that's how you can provide value. And the third thing is customer service.
Yes.
So those are the top 3 that come to mind.
Oh, that's so good.
Something Alex said, humility. I think it's really important. There's nothing that drives me crazier than a junior person who's arrogant, because they haven't earned it, right? I'll never forget. I had this one law clerk. She's no longer working for the firm. And I would be explaining something to her and she'd be like, yeah. And I'm like, what do you mean? Yeah. This is the first time you've ever heard this. Like, there's no way you've ever heard these words before. And, you know, and that same person was not receptive to criticism, not receptive to growth, not receptive to, you know, having that point of view of, hey, this is something I need to learn. This is something I need to get better at. And what Yas said, finding a way to make yourself indispensable. Right, finding a way to have the lawyers want to invest in you and your career and to want to work with you because you're going to make their lives easier. Because that's the other thing. Part of our management philosophy is we don't micromanage. Do you feel micromanaged?
Not at all.
And it's really a self-starter business. So if you want to do the minimum, then you should expect to get paid the minimum. If you want to go above and beyond, then you should expect to receive above and beyond. And part of that, it goes every step down. So I empower people, I trust them, and then I hopefully give them the tools to succeed. And if I have to get involved in micromanaging, it's probably not going to work out.
Yeah. I know you trust all of your employees. Like from the very beginning, when I had a conversation with you, you've always said that you trust your team. And that was very important for you from the very foundation of your firm to make sure that you keep that as part of your core values. Love it. Alex, Yasmin, AI is here. It's been here. Eric and I are a couple decades older than you probably. So what is your take with AI in the legal world?
I think it's important to, again, not ignore it, learn how to use the tools to make you a better lawyer, be more effective. At the end of the day, it's the reality we live in. It's out there. If you don't learn how to use it effectively, you're going to fall behind. But I also think it's important. AI makes a lot of things easier. And sometimes that inhibits you from learning how to do things the right way. So I always try to challenge myself, do everything yourself first. And then if you want to use an AI check or whatever, do that afterwards. Don't let it stunt your growth, but also utilize it to make yourself more effective.
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, AI definitely still has errors. It hallucinates. So, wanted to really take your take on that. So that was very interesting. What about you?
Well, part of the value creation in being a lawyer is your ability to be diligent. And I think that's still a characteristic that we can't ignore with the day and age of AI. But that said, and given what both Yasmin and Eric said earlier, AI is a great tool in many ways. You have to find ways to not rely on it, but ask it and prompt the right questions so that you can actually find an answer that you're looking for. But ultimately, at the end of the day, lawyers still have to be diligent, and the burden has to be on them to be responsible and use it responsibly.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And if I could just add to that, we know when someone else is using AI.
Oh, wow.
We know when our clients do it. We know when they send us the super long emails with all the bullet points. We're like, oh, ChatGPT, right? And so when a peer, like another lawyer or in their case, another law clerk, when they're taking shortcuts and they're kind of cheating the system, it becomes obvious. And then speaking to reputation, that becomes the reputation. And unfortunately, we had a law clerk last semester, where it was obvious to all the lawyers that they were just using ChatGPT to do all the work for them. And, like you said, diligence, that's the opposite of diligence is looking for shortcuts.
Very interesting. So with your experience fresh, like you're coming to the end of your internship program, what word of advice would you give to a student that is looking to have an internship? Doesn't have to be at EPGD, but anywhere. Like, where can they find the resources? How can they attain it? What are the best practices? Like what would you do if you had to start over again to look for a great firm that they could go and be a junior associate, be an intern, be a law clerk?
I would say from day one, when you start law school, go to all those networking events your school puts on, all the networking events the law firms host, and you get the invites. EPGD hosts them twice a year. Go to all these receptions because it allows you to connect with people, and then maybe they don't have an opportunity then, but once they do, you'll hear about it first. So how I got my internship was by talking to a mentor from who was my 1L mentor, and she was 2 years older than me at the time, and she had interned at EPGD JC, and she helped me. She's like, I worked at this place, it was awesome. Again, word of mouth. She had a great experience, and she told me about it, so then I applied. So I would say just talk to people, go to all the events, and stay out on the lookout.
Wonderful.
Yeah, building on what Yasmin said, I think the most accessible type of people that you're going to get are the people that you share campus with. And for me, it was Yasmin, it was upper years who I was talking to. And those people are going to give you authentic answers. And those are the answers that you want as an incoming 1L, is you want to know what a firm really is like from people who work there and had the experience there. And those people are an amazing resource all around.
Wonderful. Well, we're going to wrap up. And so, Eric, what's your biggest takeaway from our podcast today, talking directly to your associates, your junior associates here?
I think I'm just doubling down on my commitment and investing in them.
Oh, I love it.
Yeah.
I love it. And last but not least, please tell us again what exactly your firm does.
Sure. So the official name of the firm is EPGD Attorneys at Law PA, but that's like the technical legal name. Our DBA and the trademark we registered is EPGD Business Law. And so what we try to do is be a full service business law firm. We want to work with entrepreneurs, business owners, mostly small to medium sized companies, and we want to help them essentially with as many of their legal problems as we can.
Wonderful. And how can they reach you and your firm?
Our website is www.epgdlaw.com. I think we have Instagram, EPGD Business Law. We have, I'm on LinkedIn, Eric Gros-Dubois. And of course, my email is eric@epgdlaw.com.
Wonderful. Thank you so much for your time, everybody.
Thanks
Thank
so
you
much.
for having
Thank you.
us.
Thanks for the great questions.
Thank you.